In this third and final part of our first lesson, our first module, we will conclude on the importance and role of photojournalism in media. Photojournalism, as it draws on the field of journalism, is contextualized to something that's happening and has to be done responsibly, responding to the need of the hour, the need of the moment, and accurately portray reality as it is. Photojournalism is documentation of various events, happenings and situations, which is defined as news. We need to know what is the difference between hard news and soft news. Let us hear from Soumya Khandelwal, who is a contributing photojournalist with many international publications, as she tells us about hard news and soft news.
Photojournalism historically has been the documentation of news by photojournalists, and I would say it was broadly, it went beyond just the documentation of hard news, which is, for example, some politicians decide to have a protest and photojournalists go and capture that. That would be hard news. A bomb blast, that's a hard news. An earthquake, that's hard news. So while this is one part of photojournalism, the other part is also the softer news, where we often have images of, let's say, daily life, where residents of a particular city are engaging with a city in a certain way that depicts the mood at that particular point of time. Or we have stories where we're, for example, looking at issues. But photojournalism historically has been restricted in terms of the time that a photographer engages with it.
Let's take a short break with a reflection spot. You're going to see some options on your screen. I suggest that you pause the video and think about the right answer. When you're done, then resume the video again. The photographs that photojournalists take preserve and record an event for posterity. For generations to come, people know that this event had happened because the photograph exists to remind us. Let us hear what Tanvi Mishra, a Delhi-based photo editor, curator, writer, and creative director of The Caravan, has to speak about this.
Look at 9/11, you look at the amount of imagery that has generated from there. It has become kind of symbolic of that time period for America. It's impossible to imagine a history of America without having an image of 9/11. And there are many images like that of India as well, like Gandhi's funeral. Like we all, at least I have seen, and maybe you should also go and Google, the image of Gandhi's funeral, because it was such an important event in our history that a sea of people kind of walking along with the body, and it is because of the photojournalists that were there that made it a point to capture that event that I am still talking about it. Decades and decades down the line. So that is where I think it's very important of looking for moments, and by events I can also mean moments, and that's what Decisive Moments or Cartier-Bresson spoke about, that there is something that is happening. Now it can be even something I can say in a sports event, like when the batsman actually hits the ball, there is a moment in which you're supposed to grab that image. Now if you do it 5 seconds later, 5 seconds sooner, you'll miss that the decisive moment. As it is the same for sports, it is the same for news. You have to actually get it. So if you actually got to 9/11 maybe 2 days later, you'll see a very different visual. Now I also want to just expand, because while I am all for the decisive moment, and it's very important to have the moment where, say, the towers collapsed or the bridge fell, I think it is also important to return to spaces after the hype has died down. And it is our responsibility as photographers, as journalists, as media people, or as artists, whichever way you approach photography, is that it is important to consistently keep putting light on injustice and inequality beyond the news moment. So while it's important to see the bridge collapsing, it is also important to see the kind of injuries that people have suffered, to maybe chase one of the people who is in hospital to say that, can I come to you, would you be okay that if I photograph you, just to show that, the kind of injuries that you have suffered. And whenever you put a human face to a crisis, people are usually moved by that, because I always think that today it is him, tomorrow it could be me, and it helps you identify with the reality of the place. So for situations where this is possible, photojournalism is very, very important, and I believe that the decisive moment has really expanded now. But I also think that there are places where photojournalism may fail, and these are kind of instances where we're recounting memory, where we're looking at situations where we cannot get access, and that's where things like reconstructions and different forms of photography actually start coming in.
Now we have another reflection spot for you. You are going to see a few options on your screen. I suggest that you once again pause the video and reflect on the question and think of the right answer. When you're done, then you can resume the video again. So we can conclude that photojournalism is an activity which is a combination of both the capacity to record moments of time through visuals, but with a news sense, that we have a sense of news and we can record it as a testimony through our cameras, a digital camera or a mobile camera. It doesn't matter which camera we use. What matters is the way we see the moment and record it so that others can access an event or an happening where they were physically not there, but because of the photojournalist's presence at that moment, the world could see that image.
So I just want to kind of leave you all with one memory, one thought. Go back to your room tonight and look at the picture of Aidan Kurdi. The picture of this boy who was washed ashore during the Syrian war. Look at that picture and think what that picture did. That picture changed the way Europe looked at the waves of immigrants coming into the continent. That one picture changed everything. That's the power of the camera. That guy didn't change anything. The photographer didn't change anything, mind you. He just sat there. It is his response, the person that he was, is how he was able to respond to that moment. He saw this boy watch the show, dead. He took the picture. There is so much of meditation in that picture. It's that person who reacted to it. He didn't go close and take a picture of it. No, he didn't do that. He stood far and shot. That's the power of camera. It has aesthetics, it has a human story, it has a grand story. And 2-3 days after that picture appeared, the world over, it went crazy. You know what viral is? That's viral. It went crazy. It made the governments in Europe sit up and say, you know what, we should do something about this. That's how powerful this medium is. Think about it.
We have seen how photojournalists plays such an important role in documenting events, giving us evidence of facts, helping to get and garner support for humanitarian causes, and the various kinds of photojournalism that are there, which inform us, educate us, inspire us, and sometimes even entertain us. Knowing the importance of photojournalism, now we are ready for the next step in our learning journey, which is what are the qualities and what are the skills that are needed to prepare ourselves to be a photojournalist. We'll meet you soon, and we hope that we will travel forward to explore what is it that we need to develop within ourselves so that we can gear up for a career in photojournalism.